Hi and welcome to the Homeopathy Health Show. I'm Atik Ahmad-Bhatti, a fourth-generation homeopath with over 25 years of professional experience and practice in this field of healing. The Homeopathy Health Show is the online voice of homeopathy around the world, promoting and raising awareness of this truly unique system of healing, which is suitable for all ages, young and old. Every week I invite guests from the world of homeopathy to come and share their experiences, their work, offer insights, and essentially talk all things homeopathy. Why not visit www.liketreatslike.co.uk and click on the radio and podcast button to listen to the latest episodes. So let's begin today's show here on UK Health Radio, the world's #1 talk health radio. Hi and welcome to the Homeopathy Health Show here on the UK Health Radio Network, and as always I'm your host Atik Ahmad-Bhatti, and I hope and pray that you have had a delightful week. Time does fly as always, but hey, I've got some good news, which is I have my returning guest Robert Field, all the way from Reno in Nevada in the United States, and he is the Chancellor of the Resonance School of Homeopathy, and we have had two podcasts with Robert himself, part 1 and part 2, of course, and this is part 3. So hey, we're going to reach a trilogy, and I do love it. Robert, thank you so much for joining me again for part 3 of this 3-part exclusive with yourself. Absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Atik. It's wonderful to be here. I always have so much fun with you. I wish we lived closer. If we did, I imagine long walks and high conversation and stopping at the pub for a beer on the way home and like a wonderful day. But we do it this way, and I am really grateful. And it's been wonderful getting to know you.
It's a small world, so you never know. Never say never, as James Bond said once.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying never.
I don't know if he said never say never, actually.
No, I'm not saying
he said something
never.
totally different.
If we lived closer. Yeah.
So in part 1 of this exclusive with yourself, we spoke about your journey to homeopathy and how that inception point was on the other side of the world and what progressed from there. And then in part 2, we spoke about the spiritual vital force. So I wanted to carry on that conversation, Robert, as far as the vital force and the spiritual elements of homeopathy. And I have a question for you. Mental health conditions are becoming very dominant. You could argue they've always been there and people just haven't had the opportunity, let's say, for want of a better word, to be able to share for various reasons, which we don't need to get into. But now people are sharing because of social media. People are sharing that they've had depression, or they felt, God forbid, suicidal, or they've had bad thoughts, evil thoughts. Where is that link as far as the spiritual connection is concerned in your wisdom, I would say? Where is mental health purely a reactive response to the situations that you find yourself in life, or is it also because one may not be nourishing their soul through the spiritual elements of life?
Absolutely, I agree with all, but my observation is that because we're spiritual beings, having a physical, bodily, material experience, it doesn't negate our spirituality, because personally, I don't really believe in death. I know that physical death occurs when we leave our body, but I don't believe that we as consciousness end. And so we kind of come in and experience this life experience as the sole purpose of spiritual evolution. And then, we leave. And it's set up this way, something about planet Earth and space-time continuum. It's just the parameters that we're working within. So the reflection of the spirit comes through mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. It comes through in the experience of what it is to be a human. And Hahnemann talked about it. The higher faculties of our existence is how he referred to it. The higher faculties of our existence are the ones that allow us self-consciousness. We are aware of ourselves and uh, free will and determination. So I believe that we are um, uh, greater creators of our experience than we know. And that being at the end point of God's creation in this ever present moment that is in this continuum that's focused in the physical body, we are always at the point of expanding creation. It's only the present moment that ever does truly exist. And in that, we use our imagination as the way that we translate our experience and project our experience into reality. If you track your mind, you will find that you do not think in words, you think in images every single time. And when we are processing something, it's going from one image and an emotional attachment to what that image feels like to another, to another, to another as we perform our idea. And out of all of that, when it comes time, hey, I've got this great idea, I want to share it with you, we translate it to words. And that translation is pretty seamless. We're pretty darn good at it. The thing that happens being focused into this physical body as a spiritual being is that the physical body is more like the machine. It's more like the computer, the brain. It has neural pathways. These neural pathways get excited on habitual thinking. And so then, therefore, it's easy to get caught up in the loop of thinking because we're not staying in the present moment where we're just at the point of our creation. We're actually now running the tape over and over and over again. When we do that, we're conditioning the body as well as the mind, the neural pathways, but the emotional response and all the hormones and all of the physiological effects that translate the image that we've taken from our mind into a physical bodily existence because there's no real separation. In that, we are an ever-present and constantly expanding picture of what our mind has generated in the form of image, and then translated in the form of words, and then repeated over and over again because it becomes more and more familiar. And then we present to our world, well, this is my personal reality becoming my personality. And now, hi, I'm Robert, and I'm this guy, and everyone says I'm this, that, and the other because the habit of me being me is continuing on. And so when it comes to mental health, it's still always a spiritual expression as well as the physical. And so the body does not lie. It never lies. There is never once a time that the mind and the brain being like the computer processor for how things get translated and distributed into the physical expression of our being. There's never a time that we are separate mind from physical body. When the spiritual challenge is great, then the mind will become greater affected because it isn't able to process. What we've done is come here and tried to make sense of this world. That's what we're always trying to do. We just want to make sense of it. And when we have something that comes up that we just simply can't make sense of it. I don't know. There's no easy answer. I don't have a path that's really clear. And, we try on one idea or one image in our mind and it doesn't feel right. We try another and it doesn't feel right. And we become lost in that. And we say, I don't have an answer. Then that's all being recorded literally with neurons in our brain. And as that's the case, then neural pathways want to fire because it's used to firing that direction. And now we're living within conflict and we're at odds with our own consciousness, with our own existence, with our own ability to make sense of some aspect of our life. And when we have that as a persistent state, then often, because the mind can't really decipher, it can't come up with the clear path, then we look at the next level of that. It either gets translated into the physical and become a physical expression of disease, or if it gets stuck in a loop in the mind, then we say, oh, this is mental illness, or this person has losing their ability to be able to process their reality. And then the reality comes at odds with everyone else's agreed reality, and we say, oh my gosh, this is mental illness, you've actually got a problem here. And in this world, we have so many influences that Hahnemann simply didn't have. Number one, sheer population information, cell phones, the internet, and the amount of information that we are bombarded with is tremendous. And the electromagnetic field of that is tremendous. And the fact that, since 1940, what was it, three, when they dropped the big bombs and, radiation, we have background radiation. There's been a lot of radiation released. It's the most, deadly energy on the planet, and there's a lot of it affecting us. And then chemical industries have, polluted our food, and now the mad scientists are genetically engineering it. And so the influences are so, so, so great that at the physical level, that translates back up into the mind, we're, quite polluted, we're polluted energetically, we're polluted physically. We have such an incredible load of information that we have to sift through. And in the end, the challenge that we have just surviving as a human being and making sense of life is greater than it's ever been ever on this planet. And I truly believe that everyone on this planet at this time has chosen this time to come and be here because the challenge is so great. So out of a great challenge can come great evolution, come great growth. And so it's my belief that the Kali Yuga, 22,000 year cycle or 26,000 year cycle, we're down there at 6 o'clock, straight down at the lowest of the low, the darkest of the dark, before we're coming up. And so it's important that any of us maintain our spiritual path to maintain our mental health and physical bodies. That you can't separate them. The fact that we're here now under these incredibly extreme conditions, we still have a wonderful opportunity to spiritually evolve. It doesn't mean we have to be a victim to the current circumstance on planet Earth and what things are like here now. And I believe that the whole challenge is coming back to our spirituality, coming back, and I'm going to use the word coming back to God. And there is a creator, in my opinion, and this creator has created all things, including myself, you, and every word that gets spoken. And being at the end point of God's creation, it's like, what better way, if you were a God, how would you want it to be? You'd want to create as many opportunities to experience through some other thing other than your own creation, another way. I mean, we are God's creation. There is no separation, but I'm at the end point of God's creation at every ever present moment. And what a wonderful thing for God to experience itself through me, this thing that he gave this little bit of independent and seemingly free will to. So back to the idea about mental health, we're in a much more complex world than we've ever been ever before. And the answer, yes, homeopathy is a useful tool to be able to help inspire the vital force, the spiritual vital force, to be able to heal. It's all coming out of a spiritual challenge, and then a spiritual path in oneself. And so I find that being a homeopath, And I repeat this to my students often. I said, you need to have your spiritual path. Far be it from me to determine what's best for you. So I don't care if it's Buddhism or Christianity or, it does not matter. But for myself, um, my spirituality is pretty much in practice through meditation. And to me, meditation is a way of getting out of one's own way, for quieting the mind and getting out of the loop, the thinking, the loopy thinking, the one that now I'm creating neural pathways, and the neural pathways are now wanting to create themselves because they're so familiar. And now I'm in that loop, and I'm a victim to it just like everyone else, but I'm not really a victim because there is something I can do about it. And that something that I can do is to quiet my mind and get out of my own way. And it allows for greater expression and creation to exist within me. It allows God to work through me better, simply because I'm kind of out of my own way. And I think that's an important adjunct to mental health issues and the way homeopathy can really help. I encourage, my clients, if you've not considered meditation, consider it. Oh, I'm not a good meditator. I just think that, no, that's the point. You're going to think, because that's what we do, but you're going to have more opportunities to let go of the thinking if your intention is, I'm going to meditate and try to get beyond myself and just watch it rather than react to it. And in that, it's a training. We're creating new neural pathways. We're doing it differently. And in that comes greater freedom and greater ability to work out the questions in life. Like, I'm in conflict that I don't have an answer. Maybe the answer isn't in the 2 poles or 5 poles of the conflict as you perceive it. And there's probably an answer in a place that is yet to be exposed. And where meditation can really get to that place, that place of nothingness, so that something new could arise. And this is again where homeopathy is brilliant. It's brilliant to be able to find the simillimum, or that homeo, which means similar, and pathy, suffering, that similar suffering. And we have so much knowledge of our materia medica, and then be able to apply that is, the real gift that we have as homeopaths.
Yeah, that
Long
was a
answer, convoluted answer, but it's my best answer.
that was profoundly deep, and I loved it. So thank you. You made me think as you were talking about, you are what you eat, you are what you say, you are what you think. And you said something very, very important. Maybe may have missed this, but you said the body never lies. And that's
Absolutely.
such an absolute truth, isn't it? You can't
Yes.
get false symptoms. You can't get false diseases. The body doesn't lie. And if it didn't tell you were sick, you wouldn't actually know, and you'd probably be, you'd probably pass away from it, right? Everything
Yeah.
is a blessing because the body is built in such a way that, hey, look, something's wrong, sort it out, try to do something about it. And it's a
It's
survival mechanism, isn't it? In the
Yeah,
meantime.
absolutely. Absolutely. It's all about our survival. And it's an instant feedback system at the level of emotion. And then it's a longer feedback system if it isn't resolved at the level of emotion, meaning we have a conflict. My mind can't sort this out. And everything that I feel, nothing feels right. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. Well, when we find something that feels right, it's going to bring relief. But if we stay in the conflict long enough, then our instant feedback system, we've created those neural pathways. We're in the loopy thinking, and then it translates into the physical. It says, okay, we need to express this into the physical. And when it expresses it into the physical, now our bodies are screaming at us. It's like the universe is saying, wow, wake up. It's right here. It's right now. You're feeling it in your feet. You're feeling it in your liver. You're feeling wherever it is. And it's telling that story. It never, never, ever lies.
It's fascinating, isn't it? All of this, and I'm loving this conversation as well. And it takes me to sort of the point that we can never deceive ourselves. We can lie, of course. Let's say, just for the purposes of this conversation, as an example, that we could tell a lie. Okay. But we can't deceive our own body. We can't deceive ourselves. We can project, but we can't, because it's just like saying, "Oh, I don't like somebody with my mind, or I love somebody with my mind." It doesn't work that way. It's the heart.
It's the
You
heart.
know it's the heart because you feel it there. Isn't that just absolutely what a phenomena in itself, right? To be
Oh,
able to experience that.
the way the human body, mind, spirit translates into this physical existence is such an incredibly beautiful thing.
Mm,
It is a marvel of creation. And, to think that at one point I did not exist. I existed in the spiritual world, but not in this physical world. And then a sperm and an egg came together and life was formed. Boom, just in that instant. And then, to see birth, when my daughter was born, the first child I'd ever witnessed, like it was a miracle. I mean, from nothing is something, and new life is here. It is like the most astounding thing. So we have this ability to continue to create and create and create, and it's boundless and endless in the spiritual realm. But we take it and we create in this limited physical way through our life existence, and yet in that, all aspects of the spirituality are expressing all the time. The problem is we've lost the training, or we've lost the reminder, we've lost the consciousness around that, and I believe we're getting it back.
mm.
We're spiritual beings. If we knew the beauty of our own existence and the power of our own ability to create, literally, it's boundless. It's boundless.
It
And
is.
I think that Hahnemann actually understood that, because he used those words, for the purpose of our higher existence. Those, he did not mess around with his words. He was precise. And he said, well, what is our existence? No, it's not just it's our higher existence. It's what we've really come here for. Yeah.
It reminds me of two things. One, there was I was watching on some science channels that when the sperm hits the egg, when contact is made, there's a
Like
bang, light,
explosion of light.
light,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yes.
But also, it reminds me, because you said Hahnemann knew. It's a quote from Batman, actually, with Christian Bale. I love the
Yeah.
movies. Okay, I mean, who doesn't, right? The good ones, anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's in Gotham, and he's gone to this place, and I don't know who the gentleman was. Is some sort of enemy of Batman. Probably killed his parents. But that guy said something very profound. It's words, and he said, "You always fear what you don't understand." And that's those are powerful words, right? Because they were true. They are true.
Yes.
And
Yes.
when people shout against something, it's because they don't understand, but they don't want to understand.
Well, it's comfortable, I
Yeah,
mean, it's all about survival. This
yeah.
is where I find that being a homeopath, we have our ideas, and it's important we develop our prejudices, because it's a part of our own survival, literally. But when you're in the role of the homeopath, you're the unprejudiced observer. So to be able to sit before another and hear their story, and literally set aside all preconceived ideas, set aside all judgments, set aside everything that I could relate to with my own personal experience, and yet I am the personal experience relating. It's kind
Mm.
of a double-edged sword there that we're playing with. But to be able to be in the role of unprejudiced observer is really fantastic. For me, it's akin to meditation. It's akin to coming to that place where I'm just an open vessel. Fill me up with your story, fill me up with your suffering, fill me up with all of that. And I'm not going to judge any aspect of it. I'm just going to sit and get the feeling of what it is to have gone through the experience that you've gone through, because the words that they choose are not accidental. Every motion they make, that's the expression of the vital force. And during the time of case receiving, you know, in my opinion, it's very, very sacred. It is a moment in time where the visual image that I keep is that God sits before us, animating everything in you in a perfect way, animating everything in me in a perfect way, so that we can have this exchange and I can truly understand to be able to help at the highest level I could perceive. And that is sacred. It's like, it's a sacred moment in time.
You know, you said something again very beautiful. I think everything you're saying is brilliant anyway, right? So I'm a big fan, eh? You're going to send me your autograph. But you mentioned about being unprejudiced as an observer, and and the words that people choose are not incidental, and it's interesting because that's so true. And I've noticed when you are in a consult that patients do present and they keep repeating certain words, and you pick them up and you think that's a very unusual thing to say, and they'll repeat it two or three times. But Robert, I'm sure you've experienced this definitely. But
Oh, yes.
what happens as a result of that is your intuition kicks in, doesn't it? You know, and
Yeah.
you do actually. I mean, I find myself repertorizing as a patient. It's just a habit. I know everybody does it, and they're talking and talking, but they actually lead you in that consultation to the remedy sometimes by just what they've said several times, and you think, hang on a minute, this is the shining light. This
This
is
is the
this is the
shining light.
lead, isn't it? This is the carrot,
Yes, it is the carrot.
you
Yep.
know?
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Yeah, I find that process where intuition comes in is I trust it, but I don't respond to it like initially. I try to set all that aside because I
Mm,
don't want to influence my it's like once you start responding with the intuition, once you start responding with the place that, well, I think I know something, they were putting on the colored glasses of our prejudice. I mean, literally. And so I say, oh, I recognize I just put my glasses up, but I'm going to put them back down again because I don't want to influence this. And I might make a note. And, when I'm teaching and when I'm working and I'm recording everything they're saying as fast as I can, and they're repeating a similar, I'm underlining those words.
mm.
But when it comes up that, oh, I think I know the remedy or something like that, excuse me, I will I will just make a note and then drop it, like literally drop it. I do this with intent. I do this to say, no, I'm not going down that road. I'm not following my rabbit hole because I still need to be present with the
Yeah,
client. And
absolutely.
so, in staying out of the rabbit hole, I equate this process something similar to like if you had a vessel, clear vessel, and the water was really muddy or the water was filled and you couldn't see through it. It's like, well, I don't understand the client yet, and so it's all murky. I can't see it yet. But in time, as things start to form in the mind, the intuitions are kicking in, the knowingness about remedies, the finding the rubrics that are most expressive, and all of that. It's like it starts to settle. And if you watch that, the way that particles are distributed in and suspended in a solution like water, mud, it starts to get clearer and clearer and clearer. And then at some point, you can truly see through it. And that point is the point of knowingness. That point is like, okay, now it all clicks, it all fits. Now there's knowingness. And usually that happens like when you add a reagent to a chemical solution and your water is blue, but you add that one drop of stuff, and then the water goes clear in an instant. It's like that. And, coming to that place of knowingness, I know now what to do, it's a beautiful process. It can't be rushed. It can be learned and practiced over time, and it's something all of us come to and all of us know. But in my opinion, in homeopathic training, we aren't trained to trust and get familiar with those feelings. And this is what I'm always encouraging my students. What is it that when is it that you know? And when you know, no one could ever budge you from it. That
Hmm.
oh, this is it. I am solid in my thinking. When that's the case, doesn't matter if the remedy is, quote, right or wrong. What matters is if the intent of giving that particular remedy at that particular time has come from the highest place of you as the homeopath, and that's the place to come from that place, not coming from that place of, well, I think, and you go to bed at night after the client has left and you're thinking about that. I wonder if I gave the right grant. Ooh, boy, those are bad prescriptions or bad remedies to give. Don't ever give a remedy, in my opinion, if there's questions around it. It
Hmm.
needs to be given with 100% full confidence, even if it proves that it didn't work like you intended, like you thought it was going to.
And that's where that positive energy comes in, doesn't it? That's where the healing starts,
Well, then,
because if you
yeah.
know, then you're brushing it off to the patient, right? The vibes, positive
Yeah,
vibes.
yeah,
Call it.
right. It was complete within me. I'm offering this to you.
Mm.
Now it's between you and God to do this healing. And, the result is truly out of my hands.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow, what a blessing homeopathy is, and
Oh,
it's just so applicable to so many things. And I always wonder why. Yeah, I read this quote, and it's not you got to take it with a pinch of salt, but there's a lot of truth in it. That sometimes you can have conversations with somebody. Let's say you're trying to explain homeopathy, but sometimes people don't get it. And the quote was that it wasn't about homeopathy; it was generally about any subject matter. But if people don't understand it, that means that they haven't reached that level where they can. And there's nothing wrong with that because I don't understand how to fix a car. I don't
yeah,
understand how
right.
to do to do landscaping or build a house. It's not me. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Uh-huh.
It's
Yeah.
interesting, isn't it, though, because I don't understand, so I need to understand. I need to learn, or I'm not ready for that. You know?
I find that in working with new clients and in time with my clients, that it is a process of education, not education, but explaining to them over and over again what's really happening, so that they start to understand it. Because at first glance, it took me years to truly understand the significance of what homeopathy was really all about. I mean, I got it that it was spiritual medicine, and that's when, whew, man, it just everything shifted. I like, okay, now I'm going to do this thing, homeopathy. But it took years to really unwind the prejudice that had been created through the medical system and the idea of what medicine is, that it's physical, all of that, the trappings of that. It took years to really get beyond,
Mm.
truly beyond it. And so you take a client that's come to you and, they've just been to the doctor and they're frustrated by the system and nothing's helping. And, they're desperate and they're still thinking in the mindset of allopathic medicine. And but they're going to try this thing, homeopathy. And you tell them what it's really about and they nod their head and go, wow, this is really cool. But they didn't really grok it. It takes the repetition of that reminder over and over and over again, and that happens over time, and especially using their healing response and explaining exactly what's happening. Like, this is your vital force. This is happening at a spiritual, non-physical level before it ever got translated into your mind or your physical body. It's like, really? I mean, when they start to get that, it really opens doors for them as well. I'm a firm believer that we should tell our clients as much as possible within reason and not saying something that would add to their suffering,
Mm.
but to help them explain and make it clear as possible, and repeat it over so that they get it. It's a part of their spiritual evolution to embrace something at a different level.
Hey, thank God for quantum theory.
Now it's string theory, though. Yeah, yeah.
It is amazing, and I'm finding now that it's so. it's become even more enjoyable than it ever was as far as homeopathy is concerned because people are looking and they do understand. Um, Not all the time, but when you do speak to them, they're willing to understand. They're open. It's like, tell me about this and tell me about energy. And then you can, it sometimes the conversations start in the lounge and you're talking about, well, look, you got a mobile phone, you're using AI, and how's your mobile phone connected to your router? How's your router connected to the internet? Do you know what that process is? And then it's so amazing, right? Within
It
under a
really
second,
is.
right? You've got all
Yeah.
the answers, right? You're browsing the way I said, what is that? That's what is going on, yeah? Frequency, vibrational frequencies, right? This is homeopathy, you know?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
This is it. You just can't see
How
it.
so true? I've never put it in those terms, but to get from, the idea I need to find out this information, and you type it in, and then within moments it's coming back. It's like operating at nearly the speed of light, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And when we're talking about homeopathic vibration and the subtle ways that the vital force could actually perceive that and respond, it is responding at the speed of light.
I was
It,
with the family and I just gave an example. I said, and they already know, but I said, I just want you to ponder and reflect because it's important. I said, I've got my mobile phone, I've got ChatGPT on there. Okay. Now this is going connected to my router, but you can't see the wires, right? And
yeah,
the router is connected from the cable outside the cable goes, you can see it through the window. It goes to a lamp, a post. The post goes underground. That cable goes to a junction box in my town. And from there, it goes to a main junction in the UK. And from the main junction, it goes probably, God knows where that server farm is, the internet farm, right?
yeah,
And I put a question on there. And honestly, I just pressed enter and the results. And I said, now you tell me, what is that? That's incredible, right? And I said, it's the same with homeopathy. It's energy, you just can't see it. Yes, you've got a form factor like my phone, you've got a tablet or a pill or drops, whatever it is, right?
yeah,
As soon as you take it, that moment of light, and it bang,
yep,
that's it. I said,
yep.
that's all there is. And there's enough science out there to prove it. So the rest is in your hands now. Go and research.
Yeah.
Right? I've told
And
you
the
I've
and
told
and
you the
the
basics.
the other beauty of that is, suppose you're wrong. It isn't the right remedy. Well, you didn't cause harm. It's as if the vital force couldn't respond because there was no resonance with it. There was nothing that was perceivable about that energy that was familiar. And because of that, and this lack of resonance, then you've done no harm. Truly, you've done no harm.
Mm,
The greater harm you could do, would be to miss something that was really vitally important and not send a person to the hospital to, get the immediate help that they
yeah.
needed.
Mm,
Or that, and I find this in so rare few cases, that the person is so sensitive that they will start, responding to the energy. It's as if they do approving. But I find that, again, that part of what the intent and knowingness about why I'm going to give this particular remedy. And when it becomes so clear, it's as if the wave front of God's creation collapses, and the possibility for that to exist is so strong that even if it's the wrong quote remedy, it may have some effect or it would have no effect. And it is only very, very extremely sensitive people that would perceive the energy of the remedy in a way that might add to their suffering, which would be something akin to, approving. But, proving requires an intent also. And so
mm.
I think that, energy follows intent. In my opinion, it's like the very first law of the universe. Energy follows intent.
It's
Taking non-physical and bringing it into the physical.
It's just incredible. Absolutely. Robert,
Yeah.
you will be absolutely, well, I don't say absolutely because I don't know, but you might be surprised that we're actually at the end of part 3.
Really? Already? Oh my gosh. We just started. It seems like
We
we
just
talked about
started.
one thing, or we've opened the
It's
door.
brilliant. But I do want to ask you what are you up to for the rest of this year and what's going on with the Resonance School?
Wow. Some really great things are happening. The school is ongoing. We're in our 25th year of
Wow.
doing this, 25 years. And this is the greatest of the blessing is that, being the teacher and the main person, I show up one weekend every month. And I have shown up one weekend every single month for 25 years and have never missed a class due to illness. And to me,
Brilliant.
that is like the greatest blessing ever.
Yeah.
And I have missed one class due to a death in the family, and it just, we could not have altered it. It just had to be. But yeah, only one time. So the future looks bright. It's a continuation of the same. There are some ideas I've got about how to take care of myself and still be able to teach and create some space in my life. I'm looking at it like, well, is this what the early or semi-retirement might look like or something? So I've got some plans, and technology is allowing me to pursue my ideas because of um, Starlink and Elon Musk's satellites up there. Personally, I prefer the world without them, but it's beyond me. And if it can help, then there'll be the ability to be able to conduct class over the internet, which is what we're doing since COVID. No more live
Hmm.
classes, live in-person classes. But that in itself has been a mixed blessing also, and I'm really grateful for it because now we have students from all over, and they're loving it, and I am personally missing the human contact, incredibly so. But like all things, some good, some bad comes with the whole thing. And but we'll be able to conduct classes and do all of that from truly anywhere on the planet, anywhere that I'm wanting to go. And
Hmm.
I've got some ideas. So we're going to see what happens next summer. And um, I might be in the middle of complete wilderness and still be able to teach a class. Now
Wonderful.
that is
Isn't
an
that just
I that just it's mind blowing. This whole idea is not even possible until this moment in time, and now it is possible, and it's going to afford me to be able to like maybe have some more wilderness experiences. That's where I really kind of thrive. If I could live in a little cabin out in the woods with no electricity, I've done it for many years of my life already. I would go back to that in a heart. I'm telling
it's being at one, isn't it? And that's
you.
so peaceful. And I know people who do that. They actually do. They have internet connection, but they're in the wilderness, and it's brilliant because you can actually help people from. That's the blessing of technology. You can help
Yes,
anybody, and you could be anywhere in the world as long as you have a good connection. You
as
can
long as
do
there's
it.
good connection. Yeah, that's it. So, yeah, that's what's coming up, and class has been growing, and the students are, oh man, they're so in tune. This I will say, not that there's been any previous evolution of classes because people are coming and going all the time, but there are still core classes that have gone through. But the classes that are coming, it seems as if, compared to 25 years ago, the spiritual knowingness or the inclination to really grasp it at a spiritual level is more predominant now today versus 25 years ago. And looking at it, from a retrospect, looking back, I can see that evolution has been occurring. It's been occurring in people. It's been occurring in myself. It's been occurring, and it's really makes it hopeful for me that as bad as the world is, and if we want to focus on that, you can have a really miserable existence within it, but at a much higher level, um, there is a greater evolution of spiritual consciousness and being in this world from a different perspective than even 25 years ago, which is really a cool thing.
And may that always remain the case. And Robert, it's been such a joy to talk to you on three separate occasions now, with part one, where we talked about your journey, like I mentioned at the beginning, and then part two, or your journey and calling, should I say. And then part 2, we spoke about the spiritual vital force, and of course part 3, and we've spoken about a host of things here. Let's catch up later this year. Of course, we're going to keep in touch anyhow, but honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I'm so grateful to you. Thank you for coming on the show and sharing your wisdom.
Oh, God bless you. Thank you, Atik. This has been wonderful. I so love sharing with you. I know that you understand me and what I say, and that you're coming from a perspective that's so similar. There's great resonance in that. And I feel it, you feel it, and it's a wonderful thing. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I do hope you've enjoyed this week's episode of the Homeopathy Health Show. Please do support the show by clicking follow on my socials. Remember, the more exposure the podcast receives, the better for homeopathy around the world. You can find me on Instagram by searching for @like_treatslike, and on both Facebook and TikTok by searching for @like_treatslike. So let's promote the voice of homeopathy on radio and podcast around the world together. Don't forget to visit me online at www.liketreatslike.co.uk and click on the radio and podcast tab. Here you'll be able to see all the guests that have joined me on the show so far, and of course you can stream on demand the latest episode to your mobile, tablet or PC. Until next time, stay safe and take care.